Hello guys, my name's Ross. I've done a couple of videos a couple of years ago on YouTube that were just very bad slideshows of some of my figures. So I've had a lot of people say they want me to do another video with a bit more details on what I do and stuff, so I'm going to try and do that. I'm quite a nervous person. I don't particularly like doing videos and stuff, so you might find me repeating myself or getting a little bit lost and sidetracked. So we're going to have a go and see how we can get on. So I'll quickly show you around my workshop, which is a shed, an 8-foot by 16-foot shed. So this is where all my new parts are, obviously my computer, and lots of things I'm sculpting at the moment. Obviously a bit more, this is where I normally do a bit of painting. And obviously go in through here. This is my casting department, sorry about the mess. This is my storage for my tools and bikes and some of my metal melting equipment. A sandblaster. Obviously I've got my little spray area, a bit dirty. Some more paints. My oven for curing resin for when I do moulding. So right, back into the warm section. Yeah, so I'm going to run through a few of my models I'm working on at the moment. All these here are models that I'm working on for mainly a guy in Germany called Peter, a couple of guys in the UK, and quite a few in the US, one in Canada as well. So these are mainly Star Wars. There are a few Marvel ones I have done which are in there. So yeah, obviously these are all hand sculpted. Obviously the ones at the front are not as good as the ones at the back, so obviously there's still work to do on the front lot. See if I can get in a bit closer. So these are Star Wars ones. So like I say, there's still a lot more. That's sort of 2 months work there, so there's lots more to do. Oh, there's some finished ones from my last big batch I did, which is I can't remember what they're called, but the Star Wars. Obviously I sculpt with milliput, so there's quite a few different colours of milliput. So you get obviously white, you can get black, obviously the silver grey. This is another white. Obviously you can get a black one and a terracotta. I find it easier to have different colours. I've got 5 different colours milliput, so I work in layers. So I do a bit one week, and then the next week I do a bit more to that head. So these are still got a bit more sculpting to do, a bit of grinding and stuff, so to make them exactly as I want them to be. So obviously these are patterns. So once these patterns are done, I can mould them in rubber. So pretty much take that head and I will tip rubber around it, which is this, which then produces a rubber mould. I can just grab one. Sorry about the camera. So this is the mould of this guy. So once I've got a mould, I can cast as many as I want. So let me see if I can find one there. Well, sadly I can't find one, but yeah. So obviously they all start off with patterns. So these are all my patterns that I've casted over the years. So once I've done with them and I've got a mould, I tend to just throw them all in there. And obviously they're all me raw castings. So when people make an order, so if they was to order this hammerhead character from Star Wars, obviously I'd take that out and I'd paint it up. The same with my mini clay face. And just different Star Wars characters really. There's lots of different ones. That's one of the hardest ones I've sculpted. But it worked out pretty well in the end. I've sold quite a few, so it's been good. Yeah, so back to the patterns. Obviously that's what we sculpt, so I'll show a little bit of details on what I do. A lot of people did ask about my big figures, so with the big figures I normally start with like the raw base like this. So obviously this is a figure from, you know, it's a cheap Chinese one, so I think about you can get it for about £3 or £4. So obviously what I do is I normally start with this base, grind off all this. So I would highly suggest that you do try and get your hands on a Dremel, where I can find my end. So yeah, just sorry about the mess. Just use a Dremel to grind them all flat. Pretty much, and then so there's lots of different Dremel heads you can get. Obviously they work, there's lots of different ones. I've got a big box here full up with little bits and drill bits and stuff, so the disc ones are normally the best. So something like that Dremel bit would, that's sort of the ones you want. So highly suggest you get a Dremel, definitely, to just Dremel off bits so you can. So yeah, with the big figures we start with like that. We Dremel them down and clean them up and just get them to a blank stage. Then obviously we decide we've got to grab the milli putt. Obviously take half and half of each, mix them together, and then obviously just try to lay, obviously sand this down a bit, so when you stick the clay to it, it will fit. Obviously this is hollow. When I mould things, I have to mould a solid object. So this one here, I have to drill a hole in the head and tip resin into the body. Obviously I have to seal around the edges, because then once it's solid I can vac it in the degassing chamber to remove any bubbles. So once that turn that into a solid object, which would be like this one, this is Hulk. Obviously that is solid now. So obviously, yeah, once you've got a blank figure, it's solid and it's ready to go. Obviously we sculpt onto it. So obviously this one is I can't remember what it's called, but it's Marvel or a DC character. I don't follow characters' names. In fact, I don't even collect any of these characters. I just make them, to be honest. So obviously we add detail to it, add a belt, straps, shoes. Obviously they all still fit on Lego bases, otherwise there'd be no point in doing it. Ooh, let's pick that one up. Sorry about that. Right, yeah, so once you've done that, obviously apply detail wherever you want and how. Just sculpt what you see. Obviously it's trial and error. I've been doing it for 12 years now, so when I first done little figures, they were heads were big and massive. You got to keep trying, and you eventually get it. You do bad ones and they get better, and they slowly get better. You slowly understand it. So once you've sculpted it and you're happy with it, obviously all this will break off. So lots of people leave theirs like this, but I like to mould mine so they're solid. Obviously that's the mould, the pattern, sorry. And when we tip a mould, we tip rubber around this. So where's the strip? So we tip rubber around it. Obviously we have to mount this upside down in like a, I'll use a bit of gutter pipe like that, and then I tip rubber around it. Then when we mould, obviously we tip resin into there, which will come down here, and then it will fill the cavity up in the mould, and it will rise up the head red bit out of here. So when I put it into the degassing chamber, which I will show you in a minute, it removes all the air from the product, from the mould. So you're pretty much ready with this. So this one here is a casting of this. So this will break off if I flick it or hit it. but this will not break. So it's solid resin. Obviously if I hit it with a sledgehammer, it will damage it, but hitting it like that won't. But by hitting the pattern, it will damage it. So we'll put that away. So yeah, obviously all these, once I'm done with a pattern, we mould as such. And then obviously that's a pattern, and then we just end up with lots of just individual castings that we clean up and then paint into the what's correct for the characters. Obviously the arms are still the same, the arms still fit, they still go on the clip, they all fit the same. See if I can find one. Yeah, so there's an arm, just fits it straight in there. So like I say, it's very difficult for me to explain it, because it's the moulding process takes me probably about 2 or 3 hours. If I was to try and mould these 3 into new moulds, it would take quite a long time. So, but I will be giving some of these raw castings away to some people on YouTube, just so I can get them to paint them and see their results, if you like. So there's going to be lots of those I'm going to give away. I've got plenty of stock, as you can see, and obviously I've got plenty of Star Wars stock as well that I'm probably going to give some more of these away to freebies for people to paint and then show me what they come up with and put my name in their YouTube videos. So yeah, like I say, the tools I suggest you definitely get if you want to start would be Milliput for definite. It's once you get the hang of it, Milliput is good. Obviously mix 50-50, have a little play. I learned just making like little rolls of little snakes, different animals, and then a few months of doing that, you'll start to interact or bring in some Lego and start to make some funny heads. I've got so many heads that don't look like characters, but I learned a lot from making funny heads. Here's a lot of my first lot. So if I show you, let's find one. Obviously this is of my first attempt for a Star Wars character, and obviously this is my second attempt this year. So obviously the size scale is a lot better. So yeah, I've got lots of freebies to give away there for people. Yeah, so obviously definitely get some Milliput. Obviously treat yourself to a nice set of sculpting tools. The metal ones were, I think, £5 for 20, and then these were, the wooden ones with metal ends, were £5 for 30, I believe. And they come with like little brushes and stuff, which these really help for texture and stuff. And a good set of files. Yeah, so just a file like that, a triangle head and stuff like that will make a big difference. Obviously a good selection of paints really does help. See, I've got Tamiya. Oh, sorry about that. I need to have a good tidy up at some point. Yeah, so I use Tamiya. Obviously, there's painting figures like detail and stuff is not my strong point, but that's something I'm going to get better at. Well, I've got to get better at. Sorry. So yeah, so obviously also I'll quickly run through this. Obviously, all the waterside decals. I draw them up myself and print them off on my printer under there. So yeah, obviously just water slides and then stick on the bodies, sort of lacquer them down. So yes, this is my little setup. It's very good. I'm happy with it. Obviously I've got a telly and a computer. So obviously this is the casting department. Like that. So yeah, obviously what happens is that obviously this tank, we put the mould in there with resin in, and then this tank, we press the button on the compressor and it removes the air from the tank. So all the cavities inside the mould get replaced with resin, and then obviously you end up with a solid object of the pattern that you moulded in rubber, sorry. So this is my little setup. Sorry, it's a little bit of a mess. That can go over there. And that drill can go back in here. Sorry the video is not great, but my workshop is a little bit of a mess at the moment. So like I say, there's my spray department. So that's where I do a lot of spraying. A lot of grey primering I do there, as you can see. So yeah, I'll quickly run through pretty much what I've got. Obviously, I've got a lot of stuff that I plan to do. Obviously, there's lots of... I plan to make a big Ewok scene at some point. That's my brand new stuff. That's for selling when I paint up my Star Wars characters. And then these are the torsos I use. They're me old castings a couple of years ago that didn't go too well. These are second-hand parts that I've been collecting over the years, but they often come in handy. More junk bits and things I'm doing. This box is just a mixture of some bits of plastic and stuff that come in handy. Obviously spare bodies, as I showed before, patterns, or spare jars. Oh, these are my dust cap things that I've been making recently to go on cars and motocross bikes and stuff. But mainly I just focus on the Lego, really. So I'll show you a couple bits in here. These are some things I'm working on at the moment. I'm going to try to get them going and get them moulded. So what these are Lego lightsabers. So obviously this one's a double-ended, so this would be for Darth Maul. I've got a total of about 15. So they're very, obviously you might find it hard to see the detail, but they're very detailed. I will be producing these soon on eBay, probably by the end of this year, 2016. And I'm probably going to sell sets of, obviously the set of 15 different characters for probably about 15 quid, so about £1 each. That's the aim. And then, like I say, another box of more characters and good head bits that I tend to keep. So yeah, like I say, I've got some more bits. This is just this box here is just a box of just random bits of plastic that I found or people were giving away or got at car boots. Just because random bits of plastic come in handy. Sorry. And then these are all, this is pretty much my drawer of second-hand Lego bits. When I say Lego, it's a bit of a mixture. So that just comes in handy. I've got plenty more boxes of Lego as well, but that's better stuff. Oh, look. There's one of my faces I started with years ago. Obviously, not very good. Obviously, this is my mould drawer. And I've got another mould drawer there. So yeah, obviously another little project I'm doing as well. Obviously, brick arms do weapons. And obviously, I've decided to make some in metal. So, obviously all these weapons here, bar that black one, these are all solid metal. So obviously they're quite heavy, but yeah, I can turn any object really into metal if people want. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Trying to think what else I can go through. Definitely get yourself some sandpaper, obviously milliput, sculpting tools. Definitely worth getting yourself a Dremel. Just have a play, really. Get some torsos that are not very good and start sculpting. Like I say, I've been doing this 12 years, so these are okay. I wouldn't say they're the best sculpts I've ever seen, but they're getting there. And like I say, I will be giving some freebies away and some big figures, just so people can paint them up and show me how they do, and put my name in the video on YouTube. Trying to think what else I can show you. Obviously, this is the resin I use to cast all my figures. So obviously that's the colour it comes out. So you mix 50-50. Obviously we suck all the air out of the mould, and that's the colour that comes out. It normally cures in about an hour. So I've got lots of that in stock. These are two characters that I sold yesterday that are going to, that one's going to England in UK, and that one's going to Colorado, I believe. So yeah, there's lots of figures, and obviously I can make figures to request that people want. So my email address will be on the YouTube video. If you want something done, or you have a figure you want to bring to life and mass produce, I can definitely help you with that, which I'm currently doing with another guy on YouTube who wants to bring his stuff into solid resin like that. So yeah, there's lots I can do, and please give me some tips and likes and some positive feedback. I do like a bit of negative feedback, but not too negative. Like I say, it's custom made figures. I do it as a hobby. I make a little bit of money out of it, but it's all for the love of Lego, really, and the love of making things. So if you I can help you out with links for where to get some of the tools I find better. I get Milliput on eBay. Obviously you can get some sandpaper stuff. This sandpaper stuff is great for making figures smooth. So making that, if it's not smooth when you sculpt it, you can use this pad. This pad will just turn it smooth. So it's great stuff. If you want any tips or anything like that, just leave a comment below or send me an email. My email address will be on the ad. I'll be happy to help and make any figures that anyone requests. And obviously I will be giving away some freebies. So really, when you sculpt, you just got to add bits on. So like I say, trial and error, have a go. That's all I can really do to help. But I will have new design, all these coming out in a few months. Like I say, I'm not an expert, but like I say, practice makes perfect, and yeah. So thanks for listening, and hope you can subscribe.